The Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988, was one of the longest and most brutal conflicts in modern history. It wasn't just a war between two nations, it involved major global powers and left lasting consequences across the Middle East. But what really caused this war? Why did it last for 8 years with no clear winner? In 1979, the Iranian Revolution overthrew Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a Western-backed ruler. Ayatollah Khomeini took power, establishing Iran as an Islamic republic under Shia rule, strongly opposed to Western influence. The new Iranian regime began promoting revolution across the region, calling on other Muslim nations to overthrow their monarchies and dictatorships. Saddam Hussein became Iraq's president in 1979, establishing a totalitarian rule. While the majority of Iraq's population was Shia, the government was controlled by Sunni leaders. Saddam feared Iran's influence would encourage Iraq's Shia majority to rise against him. Iran's Shia government sought to spread its ideology, while Iraq was led by a Sunni-controlled regime. Iran's calls for revolution threatened Saddam's rule. Both nations claimed control over the Shatt al-Arab waterway, a crucial trade route for oil exports. In 1975, Iraq signed a treaty giving Iran control over the waterway in exchange for Iran ceasing support for Kurdish rebels in Iraq. After the revolution, Saddam sought to revoke the treaty and reclaim the territory. Iran's military was weakened after the revolution. Saddam saw this as the perfect chance to attack Iran, expand Iraq's borders, and establish himself as the Arab world's leader. September 22, 1980, Iraq launched airstrikes on Iranian air bases, marking the start of the war. Iraqi ground invasion. Over 100,000 Iraqi troops crossed into southern Iran, capturing cities like Khorramshahr. Iran fights back. Iran struggled at first due to post-revolution chaos in its military. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard (IRGC) and volunteer militias Basij mobilized for battle. Despite its struggles, Iran still had advanced American-made fighter jets like the F-14 Tomcat, allowing it to strike back against Iraq. The war reaches a stalemate. By 1981, neither side could gain the upper hand. Iraq failed to push deeper into Iran, while Iran's counterattacks weren't enough to drive Iraq out completely. Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Fearing an Iranian-backed Shia uprising, they poured billions of dollars into supporting Iraq. The US and Western powers, initially neutral but later backed Iraq with intelligence and indirect arms support, secretly sold weapons to Iran in the Iran-Contra affair, one of the biggest scandals of the Cold War. Israel, though hostile towards Iran, it feared Iraq more, supplied Iran with weapons to keep Iraq in check. The Soviet Union and China, the USSR armed both sides to prolong the war. China claimed neutrality but became Iran's largest arms supplier over time. Chemical warfare. Iraq used chemical weapons, killing thousands. Iran condemned Iraq for war crimes, but the international response was weak. The Tanker War, 1984 to 1987. Both sides attacked oil tankers in the Persian Gulf, disrupting global oil markets. The US intervened to protect Arab oil shipments. War's end. After 8 years, both nations were exhausted, militarily and economically. In 1988, the UN brokered a ceasefire under Resolution 598. Iran and Iraq suffered massive losses. Over 1 million people were killed. Both nations, economies, and infrastructure were devastated. Saddam Hussein's debts. Iraq owed billions to Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. In 1990, Saddam invaded Kuwait, triggering the Gulf War, 1991. Worsening Sunni-Shia tensions. Sectarian conflict escalated across the Middle East. The war's impact helped fuel later crises, including the Syrian civil war and the rise of ISIS. The Iran-Iraq War wasn't just an 8-year-long conflict. It shaped the political, economic, and geopolitical landscape of the Middle East for decades. Its effects are still felt today, making it one of the most significant wars in modern history.